Hey, buddy. What are you doing out here? I'm hiding in plain sight. Okay, cool. Do you think you could do that in there? No. If I move, it'll ruin everything. Right. See, the problem is that the bad guys aren't out here. They're in there. So... Mother... Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another video. If you didn't guess based on the introduction, in today's video we're talking about the Ranger. I think the Ranger is a wonderful archetype. I think that it stands out very clearly in everybody's heads. I think that we can see lots of examples of it. Aragorn from obviously the Lord of the Rings, Balinor from the Sword of Shannara, if you're familiar with that series, and lots of different series. The Wardens, the Protectors of the Forest, the Woodsmen. They're a very powerful archetype that stands out a lot in fantasy. And I think that with the one D&D changes, while I was a fan of them putting the Ranger in that sort of umbrella of the expert class, because I think that is exactly what the Ranger is, I think that the one D&D actually lost a lot of the flavor of what to me makes a Ranger. And in the original PHB published version, there was a lot that while they had tons of flavor, it was very lacking as far as the mechanics go and didn't really deliver on what I think we all wanted the Ranger to do. So in this rework, I have kind of tried to bridge that gap between the expert who is very, very good at certain skills and the flavor of the monster hunter Ranger who excels at running around in the woods and surviving and fighting these heinous monsters that fill the worlds of D&D. Before we get started, I have a few special thank yous. Thank you to Matt, my player and brother-in-law, as a matter of fact, who helps me kind of as a sounding board, and I bounce a lot of ideas off of him, and he contributes a lot actually to these finished products by helping me to edit them and make sure that the language is correct and sounds good, as well as contributing to the overall ideas and the content itself. So thank you, Matt, for your help and your contribution. One of these days, maybe I'll get a chance to show him on one of these videos. And then, of course, Kyle, my friend and fellow dungeon master, who came up with a lot of the stuff that you see here, and then I took and either exchanged or switched for other features that I liked. A lot of this is based on or inspired by a lot of things that him and I talked about when going over the Ranger class. So thank you, Kyle. I wish he could be here for this video, but he lives in Florida now. So miss you, bud, and thank you very much for all of your help. One of these days we'll get together and we'll do something here on the channel. But I mean, that's really it as far as the introduction, my thoughts on the Ranger, guys. So let's go ahead and jump into the computer and show you the goods. All right, guys, welcome back to the home brewery. We are here. Make sure to check out the link in the description below if you just want to go straight to the PDF and check out the changes, but we are here for the discussion. So moving right along into class features, everything's unchanged except I gave them an herbalism kit. I think Rangers should be able to make like potions and poultices. There's lots of great resources out there on DM's Guild and the like. Talk to your DM, figure out how you can make that happen. It's a lot of fun. Moving into favorite enemy. I liked favorite enemy a lot from a flavor perspective. I didn't like the way they dealt with it with the mechanics because you were locked into your choice and the benefits weren't that great. So we've changed a lot about it. Beginning at first level, you can call upon your training as a hunter to aid you in tracking and fighting different types of creatures. As part of a long rest, you spend an hour of that long rest scouting, studying the terrain, and then studying your Ranger lore. I gotta add that in. And select one type of enemy from it should say lesser favored enemy table right here. Beast monstrosities, oozes, plants, or undead. Alternatively, you may select two types of humanoids. You gain a +2 bonus to damage rolls with weapon attacks. It scales just like Rage, +3 at 9, +4 at 16. And you also gain the feature associated with the chosen enemy type in the lesser favor enemy table. We'll get to that in a second. Additionally, you have advantage on wisdom checks to perceive, track, or gain insight on your favorite enemies, as well as intelligence checks to recall information about them. So let's move down to the lesser favored enemy table here. So with beasts, you gain advantage on initiative rolls. Humanoids, whenever you roll a 1 or a 2 on a damage die for weapon or spell damage, you can re-roll the die, must use the new roll. And then you can add your wisdom mod to any check that uses strength or dex, including initiative checks. And you gain resistance to acid damage with oozes, poison damage with plants, and necrotic damage with undead. I like the idea of being able to change your tactics and skills at the end of a long rest. It's really fun, and it allows for the ranger to kind of prep for the adventuring day ahead. At lesser levels, it kind of relies on a little bit of guesswork, but your DM can fold in, you know, your checks and things like that as a way to maybe give you some insight into the types of creatures that prowl the area. That's what I would do as a DM, but it's intended to be to kind of rely on your ability to track and check things out as a new low-level ranger. It gets better as we move along. There's a greater favorite enemy, but we're going to skip that for now because we're coming back to it at 6th level, and moving into still first level benefits. Natural Explorer, a lot of this is unchanged. You get 2 skill proficiencies. You can choose animal handling, nature, perception, or survival. If you're already proficient in either of those, you get proficiency, or expertise rather, otherwise you get proficiency. And then you can also do some of these tools that are listed here. You're also a master at navigating the natural world. This is folded in a lot of stuff from like favored terrain, but made it sort of different. So wisdom mod in place of intelligence mod for nature checks. That stacks real well with the favorite enemy stuff, because remember, you have advantage on nature checks to recall information about them. So now you use your wisdom mod and you get advantage. And then while traveling for an hour or more, difficult terrain doesn't slow your group's pace. Advantage on survival checks to avoid becoming lost. You know, you maintain alert to danger. You can move stealthily at a normal pace. You find twice as much food when you're foraging. And while tracking other creatures, you learn exact size and numbers. You get the fighting style. 2-weapon fighting I've changed. I think I talked about this a lot in my fighter video, which you can check out over here or whatever. But I've since amended it as well. I've kept the extra attack action as part of the bonus action, and then made it only fold into the attack action when you take the dual wielder feat, which I have also changed. I'll do a video about that someday. I have a whole bunch of feats. But if you gain the extra attack feature, the amount of additional offhand attacks you can make increases to 2 at 11th level. The reason I added the if you get the extra attack feature bit is because I didn't want like a rogue who took 2-weapon fighting as a, you know, the like, there's a feat, you get a fighting style. I didn't want a rogue to end up with more attacks than a fighter who was also a 2-weapon fighter, or the same amount even. So spellcasting is another big change. Rangers are to druids what paladins are to clerics. They should have been prepped spellcasters from the beginning. You're not going to change my mind. This is what they are now. They prep spells just like a paladin. So that's it. Done. They also get ritual casting. Hunter's Quarry. Now this is something, believe it or not, Kyle actually came up with this feature long before 1D&D released their feature where like the concentration free Hunter's Mark. So Hunter's Quarry, you always have the Hunter's Mark spell prepped, doesn't count against the number of spells you can prepare, and you can cast it a number of times without expending a spell slot equal to your proficiency bonus, and when you cast it in this way, you don't require concentration. But the duration's 10 minutes. D&D Shorts made a video about how busted the 1D&D version is, because you can no concentrate for an hour on Hunter's Mark and then concentrate on Hex and stack them together, which can get into some absurd damage stuff. You can technically still do that here, but you can only, the concentration element or the no concentration element only allows it to be 10 minutes. Otherwise, you have to concentrate on the actual Hunter's Mark spell. So that was kind of how we balanced it, was shortening the duration that you could do it concentration free. Then we have Primal Magic. These are just some utility-based, fun, flavor-based RP spells that, you know, rangers should get that don't count against their number of prep spells. Speak with animals, be sent, speak with plants, locate creature, and commune with nature. And then you get into your ranger archetype. 3rd level, extra attack at 5th, now 6th. This is a base class change. Greater favorite enemy. So now, when you make use, you can choose a 2nd type, so you get the lesser, and now you get a greater. And then when you finish a short rest, you can pick either selection and swap it out for another one from the same list. Furthermore, whenever you make a saving throw against a spell or ability from one of your favorite enemies, you may choose to give yourself advantage on the save. You may do so a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus and regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Again, this is just, the ranger is growing in their capability to fight the specific types of enemies that they are familiar with and studying. As a DM, you're more than welcome to like limit your choices to the actual enemies you have encountered. That's, I think, implied in here. Really fun, really cool. And again, now it's like, okay, you can choose a lesser and greater favorite enemy at the end of every long rest. And then once per day, whenever you finish a short rest, you can swap one of those changes if you have to. You know, imagine like you change out your arrows, you spend some time studying your book that your mentor gave you, you spend time just meditating and remembering the things that you've learned or the encounters you've had with these creatures. That's the intent here in the flavor. And it does not like lock you in the way the old one did. And then if we go back to the table here, you can see greater favored enemy gets some cool stuff. Aberrations, resistance to psychic, celestials, resistance to radiant, constructs, you get to add d4s to damage rolls, dragons, you're immune to frightened, elementals, you get one of the elemental damage resistances, fiends, you can add your wisdom mod to your intelligence or charisma saving throws, fae, you're immune to being charmed, and giants, you basically get the heavy armor master feat, which is really cool. These are some better benefits, and that is greater favored enemy, and again, it's getting better. Then we move along to level 8, Deft Hunter. You can choose dash, disengage, or hide, and you can now take that as a bonus action. You only get one, so it's not stepping on the rogue's toes, but Kyle and I both believe that the ranger should get one of them. This is similar, it's kind of an improvement on the vanish feature from the original PHB ranger, and you just get it a little earlier. And then Primeval Awareness. I always loved Primeval Awareness as a feature. I thought it was really, really cool. But I think first level, I think before you got it really early and you got it too early. Now at 9th level you can do it. You can expand your awareness, you can do it a number of times for proficiency bonus, equal to proficiency bonus, and you learn approximate numbers and direction at your DM's discretion. The reason I put that in there is because I'm a DM and there are sometimes plot hooks or surprises or things you want to have that, you know, surprise your players, and this could really kind of ruin your time if it was a surefire thing. So at your DM's discretion, it can reveal approximate numbers. And so that's why I said approximate and not exact. There are still secrets in my campaign that this could have ruined outright. And for that reason, I kept that note in there. Also, now your ranger at 9th level in the morning can do their primeval awareness as part of that hour, right? And now they know. They're like, ooh, there's aberrations out here, or there's dragons out here, or there's, you know, whatever, right? They can't sense giants, but you get the picture. So now they can use their primeval awareness to really get better at preparing for their adventuring day and selecting those favorite enemies, which again, really cool. That synergy across the design is what we were going for. Moving on to Improved Natural Explorer. These are just, again, some carryovers. You can't be tracked by magical means, moving through non-magical difficult terrain. You do not suffer penalties to pass wisdom or perception checks. You have advantage on saving throws against plants and magically created to impede movement, and you have advantage on saving throws against the effects of extreme weather. And along with that, because that's very much a kind of a ribbon feature, it's really cool, but pretty niche and may not see a ton of use in certain campaigns. Tireless, which was a great feature that 1D&D came out with. I think I bumped up the amount. You can, as an action, give yourself temp HP equal to 1d8 plus half your ranger level, and whenever you finish a short rest, your exhaustion level is decreased by 1. Moving right along to 13th level, Feral Senses. This was an awesome 18th level feature, but I think 18th was too long for it. So 13th I think is better. You're starting to get into that tier 3 territory. It's a fun feature. It's really cool. It's pretty much unchanged, but I love it, and I think they should have gotten it a little earlier. Now, 14th level, Sworn Enemy. Basically, you choose one type of favorite enemy from either the lesser or greater, and the benefits of that become permanent for you, and you always have the benefits of favorite enemy against those types of creatures. At 14th level, you're deep in the campaign, you know what you're fighting, you know what you're up against usually, I think that's really cool, so you can make a very flavorful choice, maybe a more mechanically inclined one, but I like it a lot. So now you kind of have 3. You have your sworn enemy, which is always on for you, and then your greater and your lesser that you prepare at the end of your long rests. In addition, your sworn enemies, and just your sworn enemies, have disadvantage on saving throws against your ranger spells. And then whenever you gain a level in this class, you may swap out your chosen sworn enemy for another option from the list. I wanted this to be a more locked in choice, but not like pick it, you can't ever change it. So it should be a thematical choice, I think, but also it's really, really cool. And you're probably gonna pick one of the higher tier, greater favorite enemies and one of those benefits. Then at 18th level, Peerless Hunter. Now, they're even better at changing tactics to suit whatever they're fighting. So once per long rest now, over the course of a minute, you may study your ranger lore, swap out your favorite enemies for one from the same list. So you're going into the dungeon, you use Primeval Awareness, holy shit, there's a Celestial up there, why? I'm gonna switch over my favorite enemy. And in addition, you gain advantage on saving throws against the spells and abilities of your favored and sworn enemies. So now, not only do your sworn enemies have disadvantage on your ranger spells, and you don't just get to choose a few times a day to get advantage, but you have advantage all the time on the saving throws and abilities of all of your favorite enemies, which you can change out at a short rest once per day, as a minute, over the course of a minute once per day. So now you get to see this ranger who's really adept at switching tactics and being really well suited to whatever they're fighting, which is very unique to this class, and the reason I like it a lot, because no other class can do this, not even close. No other class has these benefits and these features, and I like that a lot. And then Foe Slayer. This was trash as written. I think this is better. You have advantage on attack rolls against your favorite enemies. Your favorite enemies cannot benefit from attack rolls, benefit from advantage on attack rolls against you. And now you can cast your ranger spells without verbal or somatic components, as well as any material components that lack a cost and aren't consumed by the spell. So those are the base ranger changes. I would love to know what you guys think. Let me know down in the comments below. What do you like? What do you not like? I really think I spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I feel like it has a very cohesive design philosophy. I feel like it's steady and constant throughout. It has great like pull throughs. Of course, I'm biased, but I think that it keeps all of the flavor of the ranger while also making it mechanically much better, and mechanically it scales well too. And I would just love to play a ranger and see their development through the tiers of play as they get all of these features. I think it would be really fun. Anyway, moving on now to the subclasses. So, ranger archetypes, Hunter, we're gonna move through these quick. Hunter, not really a lot has changed with Hunter. They get Hunter spells that, you know, again, similar to like how Paladins get their Oath spells, Hunters get their Hunter domain spells, or rather the Rangers get their Ranger archetype spells. So Hunter gets these spells: Fairy Fire, Hold Person, Slow, Death Ward, Hold Monster, and then Hunter's Prey is unchanged except for Giant Killer, which was a trap and was really bad. I changed to once on each of your turns. Whenever you make a weapon attack against a creature that is large or larger, you may give yourself advantage on the roll. It's just better. Defensive Tactics is pretty much unchanged, although you get, I think multi-attack defense is better. I don't remember anymore what's written and what we changed. Steel Will, you're immune to being charmed and frightened. This could synergize well with some of the greater favorite enemy features, depending. And then multi-attack is pretty much unchanged, except Whirlwind Attack. You can use your action to make a melee attack against any number of creatures within your reach. So it's a melee attack, but if you have a polearm, you can do it within your reach. I think originally it was only within 5 feet of you. And then Superior Hunter's Defense, Evasion is exactly what it is, Uncanny Dodge is exactly what it is, and then Stand Against the Tide, I think, is also unchanged. So that's the Hunter. The Hunter, to me, is a much more sort of martial-oriented ranger, less reliant on, you know, the sort of the magic or a bond with a beast, like the Beastmaster. So Beastmaster magic, same thing, you get these cool spells, which I think are fun. And then you get your animal companion. Now this is a lot of text. It details like, you know, 8 hours, expenditure of stuff. You get the animal companion. It's really cool. If they ever die, you can like bring them back to life. It's a lot of text. I'm not gonna read it. At your DM's discretion, you can expand the options. There are some guidelines here, but ultimately it's up to you and your DM and what you guys can agree on as to what should be your animal companion. Then we have Companion's Bond. So your animal companion rolls initiative. It's basically another party member, but you control it. So they have initiative, just like any other creature. You determine its actions, decisions, blah, blah, blah. It has abilities and game statistics determined in part by your level. It uses your proficiency bonus rather than its own, and adds its proficiency bonus to its armor class if it is not wearing Barding. Furthermore, your animal companion gains a variety of benefits. It can communicate telepathically with you when you're within a mile. It can communicate like an animal would, simple concepts and feelings and emotions. When you're using your Natural Explorer feature, you both can move stealthily. It gets proficiency in 2 skills of your choice, and it becomes proficient with all saving throws. And whenever you get the ability score improvement feature, it does as well, follows the same restrictions as you. It also gains the benefits from your favorite enemy feature, your greater favorite enemy feature, and your sworn enemy features. So whenever you get those benefits, your beast companion does as well. It can spend hit dice during a short rest, just like anything else, and if it has an ability that forces a saving throw, now it's calculated by 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus the appropriate ability score modifier of the creature. Strength for knocking things down, con for poisons and diseases, all of that. There's some companion flaw tables, and then we get into the 7th level feature, Magical Link. The companion's attacks count as magical when you can see it and it can see you. If either of you regain hit points, the other also regains hit points equal to half of the total hit points gained. And then while your companion can see you, it has advantage on all saving throws. At 11th level, while you are within 5 feet of each other, you can both add 1d4 to your attack rolls, and once on each of your turns, you and your companion may add an additional 1d8 damage to your weapon damage rolls. And then finally, Protective Bond. Whenever you can see each other, you can warn each other and use your reaction to have an attack's damage against each other. Your companion grows in power and strength as you do, so that it's not just kind of this like useless thing that's always gonna die. It gets hit points, it gets ASIs, it can improve, and at your DM's discretion can get other features or other attacks, or even get, you know, additional attacks if you want. I probably would do more for an animal companion than is listed here, but I tend to make overpowered monsters, so that's me. And that is my Ranger rework. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you have some thoughts. Leave them down in the comments below. Let me know what you think of these changes. If any of these you would like to see rolled into the 1D&D Ranger, or if you disagree with any of them as well. I'd love to chat it out in the comments with the community that we have here. Thank you all so much for sticking around for this long. I know these videos are long, so thank you very much. And we'll catch you all in the next one. I think next up is the Rogue. Ranger Rogue. I think so. The Rogue and the Sorcerer. So looking forward to sending those your guys' way. Thank you so much for your support, and we will catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.